You could get a foodborne illness, but you can also prevent that from happening by watching this program. This is WJTS-Inform. Hello, I'm Bill Potter, your host. Joining me in the studio is Jan Dougan. She is the Extension Educator for Purdue Extension here in Du Bois County. Jan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me again, Bill. It's so great to be here, and it's just so great that you allow us to come and share educational information with your viewers.
Well, I learn something new every day, and I think we were off the air and I called this food poisoning, but we're going to talk about foodborne illness. I call it food poisoning, but that's wrong?
Well, I wouldn't say that's wrong, but that's a term that we don't use as often anymore. We really call it foodborne illness.
Okay, now how do I know I've got a foodborne illness?
Well, that's one of the problems with foodborne illness. A lot of times people don't know because the symptoms are very much like the flu or can be very much like the flu. So oftentimes foodborne illness is never reported because people just think, I just have the flu. But, you know, I think there are more people that do experience foodborne illness than we know about. So we want to talk today a little bit about some of the practices that we as individuals need to be aware of so that we can prevent foodborne illness.
Okay, and I know being clean and washing is an important thing, but sterilizing your countertops, things like that, we don't always do because it's so easy just to move stuff around and get going. But let's talk about some practices that we should practice.
So actually there's a national campaign. It's called the Fight Back campaign, and back being bacteria, which is a foodborne pathogen, one of the many foodborne pathogens that could cause us to become ill and experience a foodborne illness. So clean, you mentioned clean, that's one of the general practices. And basically when we talk about clean, we talk about keeping things clean, but primarily washing our hands and surfaces in the kitchen often. We want to, when we think about hands, hands are probably the first protective factor that we can protect ourselves if we keep our hands clean. So they transmit a lot of germs, right? So oftentimes when we're in the school talking to the kids about food safety and staying healthy, we talk about washing our hands, because when you think about it, if I blow my nose and I blow it into my hand and then I touch your table here, you think about where are those germs? They're alive and on this table now, in addition to alive and on my hand. So then if you touch this table, then the germs are on your hand, and this is how we pass things from individual to individual. So it's very important to wash our hands, and to wash our hands using warm running water. Wash our hands for 20 seconds. So, you know, if you sing happy birthday to yourself, lather those hands up really good. Wash the palms of your hands. Wash in between your fingers. Wash the backs of your hands. Wash your fingertips. And then really even up your wrists and up this part of your hand to make sure that your hands are clean. And you know, when we're in the kitchen prepping food, it seems like we're washing our hands all the time, and we probably should be, because it's important to wash your hands many, many times while you're in the kitchen.
While you're making a meal. So you
Sure.
wash your hands when you start, maybe
You
mess
wash
with the
your
chicken
hands
a little
before
bit,
you
then wash your
start.
hands again?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
mess with that chicken, you definitely want to wash your hands then. You know, when you change tasks in the kitchen, you definitely want to wash your hands. You know, if you go let the dog in and pet the dog, then you want to wash your hands
I can see that
before
one.
you go back.
Right.
You know, some of them are really obvious, but some of them maybe aren't so obvious. But just think about, you know, what's on my hands now, and do I want to transmit that? So then it would be a good idea to wash your hands. We also want to separate things so that we don't cross-contaminate. So, you know, this is the old story of you've got meat you're taking out to the grill, you have it on a plate, you take it out to the grill, you put it on the grill to cook, then you take that plate indoors, you let it set, and then take it back out to get the meat that you've cooked on the grill. No, we don't want to do that. You know, if we're using a cutting board and we're chopping up chicken to put on the grill or to cook, and then we need to chop up some vegetables, do we want to use that same cooking? No, we don't want to use that same cutting board. So we want to avoid cross-contamination. And then we also want to cook. We want to cook to the proper temperatures. And we've got lots of charts at the Extension office on cooking to the proper internal temperature. I don't have all those memorized, so I'm not going to share all those today, but you know, it's really important to try to start using thermometers, digital thermometers in our kitchen, to check the internal temperatures of things so that we know that they're done, to prevent any foodborne illness. And then last of all, the Fight Back campaign talks about chilling, that we need to chill things properly. We need to have a thermometer in our refrigerator so we know what the temperature of that refrigerator is. You know, right now we find, oh well, actually throughout the year in our county, we have a lot of churches and groups that make big pots of chili or chicken noodle soup or fricassee soup or whatever to sell. And it's really important when we make those big pots of soup that we put them in smaller containers and that we chill them quickly so that we move them through that danger temperature zone so that we don't encourage pathogens to grow and that we keep that food safe. So those are some of the kinds of basic information that the Fight Back campaign has. But I have a couple questions for you, Bill, about food safety. Okay. And we're going to test you for our viewers, and we'll just ask you about a couple myths that you probably have heard before. So what do you think? You don't need to rinse a melon for safety. It's the part that I eat inside that I need to worry about.
I'm going to say that's a myth, because to me that's like a trick question, but I don't ever really do that.
So you definitely need to be doing that, especially when we think about cantaloupes or any kind of fruit that has a rough outside where the soil from where it was grown could still be on there. And actually we have pathogens that remain in the soil that can cause us to get sick, or actually sometimes the plant itself, the pathogen comes up through the roots and is inside. So, I mean, there's a number of ways that pathogens can get into our bodies. But when we think about fruit or melons, we definitely need to wash those with cool running water and use some kind of scrub brush if it has a rough exterior
like
to get that all clean. Because when you think about cutting it and you cut through it, you know, if there's anything on the outer skin, it goes right into the center where we do eat.
So you should wash the melon or the cantaloupe before you eat it, before you cut it.
And we need to be careful when we use the term wash, because what do you think when we say wash?
I always think of soap.
Exactly. And we don't recommend that you use soap on fruit. It's just cool running water and a produce brush or a scrub brush or something like that to help get the dirt off. So what about this? It's only important to rinse fresh fruits and vegetables for safety. I don't need to dry them too.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to say rinsing is fine.
Well, new research shows us that we should towel dry with a paper towel. Okay. So when we wash those vegetables, we should, what I do at home, what I found works really well for me at home is I use a strainer in the sink. Okay, so I wash the produce and then I let it drain in the sink a little bit, and then I just take a clean paper towel and I take the rest of the water off so that I know that it's safe to go ahead and cut and use. Okay. So the new research shows us that we should paper towel dry.
Okay.
Cross-contamination doesn't happen in the refrigerator. You know what cross-contamination is?
That would be like chicken touching vegetables
or
something like that.
Right.
And yes, it does. I'm sure it does.
Well, when you think about it, if we store our chicken on the top shelf of our refrigerator, and if some of the juices would drain down on something like apples or something that we have stored below it, we could cross-contaminate those apples. So we want to think about how we store things in the refrigerator too, and we want to be sure that we do anything that we can to eliminate that cross-contamination from happening in the refrigerator. How about this? It's okay to wash bagged greens if I want to. There's no harm.
I think I remember something that it's best maybe to let them go because they've already been cleaned and you're just taking the chance of putting something into them.
The key for any produce that you buy that's bagged, if it says ready to eat and pre-washed or triple washed, it's not recommended that you wash it again because you're actually increasing the risk of foodborne illness by washing it again. So if it says on the packaging, so it's important to read our packaging,
Okay.
and if it says that it's already been washed, the recommendation is not to wash again, not to, I'm using that term, not to rinse again.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Not to rinse again.
But if you go to a store and they have green beans setting loose, and you take the green beans and you put them in a bag, those you'd want to rinse when you get home.
Yes.
This is ones that are prepackaged.
These are prepackaged products. Yes. Yes. So how do you think you did on our
I don't know.
quiz?
Did I get? I got 2 out of 3, maybe.
I've got one more because,
Okay.
you know, whenever holidays are around the corner, any kind of holidays, sometimes we like to get in the kitchen and start baking. And so this myth pertains to cookie dough and cake batter. Okay? So if we just keep our finger out of the cake batter, we'll eliminate foodborne illness.
It's so hard not to. How do you not do that?
Really, and you're absolutely right. It really is hard not to, but the recommendation is whether it is one that we make at home or even cookie dough that you buy already refrigerated, that you not eat raw cookie dough or raw cake batter, that you are increasing your risk for foodborne illness by eating the raw batters or the raw doughs. So we want to stay away from that. And if we're working with kids, it's really important because young kids and elderly folks are even more susceptible to foodborne illness. So we want to make sure that they don't increase their risk by trying raw cookie dough or raw cake batter.
Go ahead and cook it right away.
Cook it right
Bake it
away,
right away.
and then eat it hot out of the oven.
Oh yeah, that's better anyway. All right. Well, Jan, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I hope we taught you something about food safety, and we appreciate you coming in. Jan Dougan is the Extension Educator for Du Bois County for Purdue Extension, and she's available if you'd like to talk to her about some questions that you may have, or if you have a group that would like to learn more, contact Jan and find out more about how the Extension Service can help you. Jan, thank you very much. We hope people use more safety precautions as they prepare their food. Remember, wash up. All right, thank you for watching WJTS in Form. We're local people watching local people.